Okay, first, let's start off addressing the elephant in the room. Yes, I have a Band-Aid on my face. If you stick around here for a while, you'll realize I'm a little bit clumsy, and when I get to multitasking, things get a little scrambled, and sometimes I do things. Anyway, long story short, I was heating up some hot honey. I don't know if you guys do that where you live. A lot of people here are into it. It's like, put a bunch of chilies and let them just seep into a honey base, and when you want to use it, you can warm it up and pour it over your food or whatever. It's really good. Anyway, so I heated some up to a scalding degree, and took a little knife in there and stirred it around. In the hustle of what I was doing to get everything ready, I went to, instead of put the knife down, I wanted to taste the honey. As I brought it up to my face, the honey dripped onto my lip and immediately stuck between here and my chin, and proceeded to burn the holy crap out of me. I don't recommend doing that. So, just wanted to get that out of the way in case you guys are like staring at my Band-Aid and like, what the heck. Okay, so now let's get into what I want to talk about today. Have you noticed that whenever the media starts talking about like first-time home buyers, they're always showing like the nice little couple in their 20s with their first baby, or they talk about the millennials and the Gen Z as they, put out there on the commercials and all that. Because, I guess if you haven't bought a house by the time you're 35, maybe you don't exist. But what about us? That's what I was saying. What about us? It seems like we keep getting forgotten. We're Gen X here. Some of us are, not quite ready yet. Anyway, let's get into that. Okay, there are thousands of us out here in our 50s who are still renting. And let's be real, it's not because we failed. It's not because, anything we've done wrong. It's just life that has happened. There's divorces, there's layoffs, there's kids, there's aging parents needing help, there's the 2008 steamroll. I mean, there's been so many things that have been put up against, and I'm sure every generation has their gaps and their fights, and and that's just how life is, and these have been ours. And I'm now just reading, and it makes me excited, so I'm reading from the news earlier, because I'm right here, I don't own a home yet, and I worked in real estate back in 2008. So when I was laid off, I ended up moving from California out to Texas to chase that market. It only lasted about 6 months due to other circumstances, you could say, and I ended up coming home. But it was a huge change in the market, and a lot of people lost a lot, and they're still fighting to recover from that loss. My husband and I were on the road to buying our very first home. We were doing everything right, saving up, not spending, making plans, about what we were looking for, and starting to get excited. And then that big C hit, the big lockdown hit. Literally overnight, the world turned upside down, and we had to watch our hard work just evaporate and start completely over after this from scratch. So as that's happening, we're watching the housing prices just skyrocket so far up that it's feeling like it's so out of reach. The finish line is, kind of moved from the moon to the next planet out, no in between. And it's been incredibly discouraging to feel like you're running as fast as you can and doing as much as you can. But July 11th, there was this bipartisan housing bill that was quietly put into law called the 21st Century Road to Housing Act. If you haven't looked it up, you should look it up. And today we are going to talk about this because it might actually be the break we've been waiting for. Whether you're trying to buy your first home, or maybe you're trying to downsize, maybe your home's too big. Buy a home in the last few years, you know, the heartbreak. You find a modest, perfect little starter home, and you put in a good offer, and then some nameless, faceless Wall Street corporation swoops in, or if you live in my area, some tech guru from Silicon Valley swoops in, buying their fourth vacation home for when they need to get a break from the city life. And then they come in with an all cash offer, like 20% above the asking price. And then eventually you watch it get run down and turned into either a vacation rental or a permanent rental. It makes you just kind of want to throw up. Just a little bit, you know. And I mean, it's just, gosh, what do? Throw your hands up? It's not a hip hop concert. It's life. Has a section literally called "Homes are for people, not corporations." I'm reading it here. So for the first time in modern history, the federal government is banning institutional investors, so these companies that own like 350 or more homes, or like they own a whole city, like a whole neighborhood or a whole small town or whatever. This will prevent them from continuing to buy up all the single family homes. Wow, that's amazing, right? So now it's not going to kick them out of the housing market, all the houses they already own, of course not. But it does draw the line. Finally, somebody's put the line in the sand. It means when the starter homes hit the market, you are competing against another regular family out there looking to buy a home. Not a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund or corporation. And, that alone is a massive win for the little people or regular people like us. We're the hard-working people out here. We've been doing it all, working hard, paying our bills, creating a stable life. We used to be called the middle class, but because the divide has gotten so great, the middle class is almost pretty much obsolete. So, from my understanding, the bill doesn't just stop the corporations, it's actually trying to fix the supply problem as well. So, because they stopped building normal homes, like your normal, and they've been building these, like, what do they call them, like mansions or whatever, or for the senior communities, which I think are great, but many of us, aren't looking for that, and the 3-bedroom, 2 baths that have hardly being built, and the 2-bedroom starter homes, forget about it. Nobody builds those anymore because they don't think they're going to make any money with all the regulations. Who could blame them? So what I learned is, and I took some notes here, so I'm going to just kind of read down so I don't tell you a bunch of stuff that's wrong. So what I learned is the law attacks this kind of in 2 different ways. First, it's going to heavily modernize the rules for manufactured and modular homes, which is great. And if you don't know what that means, there's different types of buildings. Your manufactured and modular homes are prefabricated. Those are the ones you see driving down the freeway on the truck, and it's like half a house or something like that. Here in our area, especially all over California, and maybe in your area too, I'm not familiar with that, but a lot of our trailer parks went from the old, tin mobile homes to these more modular homes. Unfortunately, though, also in California, there's different stipulations for your mortgage if it's not a stick-built home on and then the foundation matters. It's just kind of makes it more of a hassle. So it just kind of is going to cut the red tape on all that. So it's going to expect to see these types of homes come down in price, about $3,000 kind of right off the bat. And it makes it a lot more easier, for them to get the traditional financing as well. Because like I said, with the mortgage on these, it was always kind of a weird in between, because it's not an actual mobile home, but it's not an actual stick-built home with a foundation that I don't really remember all the stuff behind it. But anyway, the second thing it's going to do is it's funding what's called pattern zoning. Basically, towns can pre-approve standardized architectural plans, okay, think cute, high quality, smaller homes. So if a builder uses these pre-approved plans, you get to skip the months of expensive local reviews and just start building. That's pretty incredible. I know that we had a big builder come into our area and was looking at several areas of land wanting to put in a few hundred homes. Haven't seen a thing yet, and that was 3 years ago. Haven't seen a thing. The properties are all still sitting there, so I don't know what's ever happened with that, and it's probably part of this. But the standardized architectural plans, this reminds me of what they were doing like when my dad's home was first built back in the 50s. They were taking areas of land and putting in nice small family homes. Our home originally was a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, but when my grandparents first bought it, it was brand new. They built it out. Now it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom with a, what do you call it, out in the back, the granny unit in the back. And it's perfect. It's great. You know, all the homes in that area have grown over time as the families have grown over time. And it's now seen the next generation of ownership, and soon to, at some point, start seeing the 3rd generation of ownership for a lot of those homes. So to see this pattern zoning with standardized architecture be able to just blow up, I think it's great, because they're going to put in those basic 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 3-bedroom, 1-bath. And then you can expand on them later as you and your family grow like they used to do. Hopefully, anyway. So, yeah. And what this is, so yeah, what I was going to say is this is going to skip all those months of building, you know, all the stuff they have to go through with the city and the planning, and it's a whole mess. Nobody ever wants to do it. So, more smaller homes built faster means more actual inventory for people who don't want or need a 3,000 square foot, you know, mega house, or, you know, something along those lines, or they don't want to live in an apartment. Here is why this is uniquely great for our generation. Here we go with my nose, because I don't want to screw this up. So some of us, like my husband and me, are still trying to get our very first, you know, that very first key. So if that's you, you're not behind. We're all kind of doing this at our own pace, and we all go through our own struggles. So there's a lot of us right now that are still trying to get in. So you're right on time. It's your life. You're going to go forward. So, or, you know, maybe you've had the family, you've had the big home, and you're looking to downsize without losing all your equity. Smaller inventory is going to give you something to choose from that's not going to suck out all that, you know, inventory you've built up over the years. So yes, by prioritizing smaller starter homes, townhomes, manufactured housing, this bill makes downsizing realistic, frees up the big family homes for young families to get into, and it lets us transition into a simpler, cheaper phase of life without sacrificing dignity. You know, we don't want to go live in an apartment. So now let's keep this real. This is a government bill. So if it's not going to magically, you know, hand you down a payment tomorrow, or you know, mortgage rates aren't going to drop overnight, this is a long-term fix. I mean, it's taken us a while to get to this point, and we're finally, even though we've been complaining for a long time, it's going to take a little bit of time. But for the generation that has felt invisible, us, very, you know, this has like been the conversation, like I said, for about 20 years. It feels like someone's finally looking up and saying, hey, maybe we should give this, you know, back to our regular home buying people out here. Somebody got a smart idea for once. So, if you're in your 50s and still renting, or if you're struggling to figure out how to downsize so you can actually afford to retire one day, don't lose heart. We've survived through the 80s, the 90s, the 2008 crash. We are resilient, and this law opens that door just a little inch so we can just kick it right open, make that door wide open. So What do you think? Do you think this will actually help? Are you skeptical about the government housing bill? Let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget, I'm here all the time, but if you hit the subscribe button, you won't miss the next video. I don't even know if I introduced myself today. My name is Christy, by the way. And if you like real life conversations, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. We talk about real life over 50, the good, bad, and the unexpected. So, welcome to have you. So you guys, also, if you want to start making YouTube videos and create a channel, I highly recommend you check out my coaches over at School. It's spelled SKOOL, and it's Common Sense Methods with Kevin and Michelle. They're great coaches, and I highly recommend them. I will leave a link to them in the description box down below. I think we've been on here for quite a while, so I'm gonna see you guys on the next video. You guys all have a great rest of your day, and take care.